Boy, that's a false narrative. He said that we're trying to keep people from having health care. That's just not true. That is an absolute blatant lie. We are not trying to keep anybody from getting health care, and whether or not they have insurance under an exchange or not does not prevent people from getting health care.
All right, there you go. He said it the way it should be said. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Congressman Louie Gohmert from the great state of Texas on with George Stephanopoulos, battling George Will yesterday and others, and he's joining us right now. Hello, Congressman.
Well, hello, and the real treat is getting to talk to you, Steve.
Oh, well, cut it out. Cut it. Flatteries, unfortunately, will get you nowhere because there's nowhere for me to put you. Now, let's tackle healthcare first here, which was the main topic of conversation on This Week with George Stephanopoulos, the show you were on yesterday on the Sunday show circuit. This claim by the president on Friday at his press conference that it's the holy grail of the Republicans to deny 30 million people health care. This guy just opens his mouth and the lies just keep on flowing.
Well, I think it's easier when you're reading things. I know from experience, having had a lot of polygraph operators that I've worked with in the past, they say, well, gee, if you're reading something, it's a lot easier to state an untruth and appear to mean it. I don't know what the case is, but President Obama knows that's a lie. He knows that we are not, Republicans are not trying to deprive anyone of health care, and in fact, it is exactly the opposite. That's what's so really infuriating. Under Obamacare, it's going to deny coverage. It's going to deny the level of care that people have been getting. So there really is a panel, whether you want to call it a death panel or not. They are going to decide, literally, well, gee, you're just a little bit older than we would like, so you don't get a new hip. You're going to have to live in pain the rest of your life, or you don't get a pacemaker, just like the president told the lady at the White House town hall some years back, well, maybe we're better off telling your mom just take a pain pill, and yet she had gotten a pacemaker that allowed her to live for 10 or plus years since she got it. That is what is going to deprive people of health care. We're trying to change Obamacare so people will have better coverage. And also, I am sick of people saying we have no alternative. He's a great guy, Joaquin Castro, just a great guy, very smart, but it is not true that we don't have alternatives, and anybody that says that has got their head buried in the sand. They're not aware of the bills. Heck, Steve, I've got a great bill. We'd be better off giving seniors a choice. We'll give you $5,000 cash in a health savings account to cover your deductible and buy you this fantastic Cadillac coverage to cover everything above that. That's an alternative. It would, in the long run, be a whole lot cheaper. So there are all kinds of alternatives, and I just get sick of all the lies. Really, if we're going to have a good discussion, people have got to quit lying so blatantly.
Well, Congressman, you're never going to get rid of the misrepresentations from the other side of the political aisle, led by the president, led by Castro. I believe he's the mayor of San Antonio, who you were on with, and also...
Well, he's a member of Congress. His brother Julian's the...
Oh, I didn't know which one was on. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
all right, and also, Congressman, the media. The media is going to lie. But here's the thing. The head of the RNC was on another show, and when it came to talking about defunding health care, which is what George Will didn't think you guys should do because you'd be closing down the government, and you can't run the government from one branch of controlling one branch, which would be the House that you're in. I heard the head of the RNC actually say what I've been saying on this air for the past 3 weeks. It wouldn't be the Republicans closing down the government. It would be the president closing down the government.
Thank you. That is exactly right. And let me just say, I have nothing but the utmost respect for George Will. I just love the guy, always have. But no matter how brilliant you are and no matter how right you are most of the time, nobody's perfect. And he's just wrong on this. It would not be the Republicans. And Republicans Republican mainstreamers, Republican establishment folks need to get that through their head. We want to save America. And I brought out the point yesterday that's not being made, Steve. The president is really going to just squash the poor individual guy that's just struggling to get by. And if you make as little as $14,000, that's 133% of the poverty level, then you're going to pay extra income tax if you don't buy the level of health care the government's mandating. And it's not, and then the president goes ahead and he gives big business a pass, but he won't give the poor individual guy a break, not one.
Yeah, it is just insane. But, here's what you guys got to do, Congressman, and I'm not telling you what to do. You got to produce a piece of paper with a list of the things that people like about Obamacare that you guys have also admitted should remain, like, extending, I guess, health care benefits to the young adults and closing the donut hole and whatever the heck else is on there, that pre-existing conditions, and show them, here's 1 or 2 pages, not 18,000. Here are the same things that you like that are in it, but the travesty of the other 18,000 pages are not in it. That's what I think you guys got to go around and do.
Yeah, actually, I think my bill is about 28 pages. And it was an alternative, and Newt Gingrich said, man, that you get that score, that will change the whole debate.
Yeah.
This was way before Obamacare, and, of course, CBO acting at the behest or helping his Democratic friends, they never would score the bill, even though the top Republicans were asking, please, score Gohmert's bill, and he never would score it.
But here's the problem. We're talking to Congressman Louie Gohmert of Texas on the Steve Malzberg Show. One more question on health care. At the end of the interview yesterday, you were asked, what's the prospect? Do you have enough Republican support to stand your ground, to take a stand, to defund Obamacare in full or in part? And you said, no, right now we don't. And that's the sad truth. The leadership wants no part of this.
Yep, but the difference is if people will let their members of Congress and even their senators know that they're going to be primaried, there's going to be problems unless they step up and help us stop this terrible thing that's going to hurt so many Americans called Obamacare. Unless they do that, stand up for what's right, they're going to have problems. If people will let their members know that, then you're going to have enough members stand up and do the right thing. That's the great thing about America. But you have to make your voice heard in order for that to happen.
202-224-3121. 202-225-3121. 224-3121. 202-224-3121. That's the number to call any senator, any congressman. All right, let's move on. The Justice Department announcing today that they're going to try to, their excuses, they're going to try to ease overcrowding in the federal prisons by ordering prosecutors to leave out listing the quantities of illegal substances in indictments for low-level drug cases, sidestepping federal laws that impose strict mandatory minimum sentences for drug-related offenses. So here they go again. By mandate, having nothing to do with Congress, they're just going to decide which laws to follow and which parts of laws to follow. I mean, this is insane.
It is, except this is, as you point out, Steve, this is their mode of operation. They just don't follow the laws they don't want to follow. They don't enforce the ones they don't want to follow. And I tell you what, though, in that release there was a great statement that I'm glad somebody in this administration finally admitted, because they're constantly screaming about all the hate violence and all this kind of stuff. And, of course, we know that this president, this administration has done more to stir up racial tension and violence than any administration since, the 60s. I thought we were going to have a post-racial president, and he's become the president of division, of envy, of jealousy. And so, anyway, but the point they make is violence is down. And that's what a lot of us have been saying is they've tried to push it. Oh, they say on the one hand violence is up. We got to do all these things. Violence isn't up. It's down. And if you will look historically, what happens, Steve, is a society will get sick of violence and they'll toughen up the criminal laws, and they'll put away people that are acting violently, and so often the violence does involve drugs, not all the time, but it is a big factor. And then you'll see, wow, they look how many people they've locked up, but you see the violence rate go down. You see the crime rate go down. And then as that goes down, then you have people like Holder just say, hey, the rate's down, so
right.
It's okay to start releasing people again, which means invariably the crime rate will start going up, and you'll start seeing things go the way we don't want them to go.
And that in combination with a judge ruling that New York City's stop and frisk is unconstitutional, we're headed for the reversal. You're absolutely right. One more for you. You were
But the Supreme Court has made very clear the stop and frisk. It's called the Terry rule. It goes back to the 60s, and it's why I was rather shocked that they overruled Arizona's law. I mean, basically, the Terry frisk has been in the law. It's been part of the law for so many years. And so you've got some numbskull judge in one state that says, yeah, I'm just going to disregard what the Supreme Court says. I don't care.
Well, hopefully the Supreme Court will will be the same Supreme Court at least, and Obama won't have two more appointees when this case finally reaches it. Let me ask you this real quick in closing. We get a report from McClatchy news sources today, quoting a high-ranking Yemeni security official speaking on the condition of anonymity, who said that the embassy threat attack, or the embassy attack threat, had no basis in fact, and said that this was all done so that the U.S. could launch some drone attacks on Yemeni terrorists and be justified in doing so. Now, you were against closing the embassies. Most of them have now been opened. What's your take on this?
Well, I was okay with closing the embassies if this administration was going to continue to refuse to properly secure them. But the better thing to do was to secure our embassies so that we don't look like a bunch of cowards to the world. This is massive recruiting material for the most violent radical Islamists. When they see us turn tail and run, which this administration did, whether it was based on in fact or not, it looks terrible. It's a recruiting tool for the violent look. You know, America is a paper tiger. They used 1979 and the Carter administration's refusal to do anything effectively. They used 1983, the bombing in Beirut after the president I loved, but he didn't have the support of Congress. He pulled people out of Beirut after we were attacked. Every time there's been an attack and we don't respond, it's used to recruit, and this is the same way it will be used to recruit people that will hurt us down the road.
Congressman Gohmert, my friend, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Always great to talk to you, Steve. Thanks so much.
Take care. Congressman Louie Gohmert, ladies and gentlemen, first CD from the state of Texas. 855-777-9660 if you want to weigh in on anything you've just heard, stop and frisk, or the drug sentencing laws, or the embassies, or health care. All here on the Steve Malzberg Show.